Oh, okay. Hey, everybody. I'm not sure exactly. I can't quite hear yet, so let me hang on 1 second. So Dawn, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm trying to see if I have a quorum.
Okay, why don't you see that and then kind of do a jumping jack or something, and I'll know to get us started.
Can you tell her I'm here?
Sarah is here.
Aaron, Steve, Sarah, and I have 3 here, so I need 1 more.
One more.
Liz, I'm here too.
Liz
Liz.
is, all right, I have 7. Okay.
All right, we're good. Okay, all right. So there's going to be some back and forth and some calling to orders and some navigating of a joint board meeting. Please make sure that you sign in. Please make sure you sign in. Okay, the way that it's going to go, the choreography of the meeting is Virgins will go kind of first. We'll follow the agenda, but Virgins will go first, ANWSD, and then the Mount Abe district will go second. When we get to public comment, both districts need to have public comment, but I'll just open it and we'll do the public comment. If somebody really wants to make their public comment be on the MAUSD, well, they'll open it up and you can certainly do that. But I mean, I'm just kind of as a matter, there'll be 2 public comments, but go ahead and get it done in the first one unless you really want to say something to MAUSD. Okay, so I'm going to call to order the Addison Northwest School District Board of Directors for an informational meeting on November 1st, 2022. It's 6:07 p.m. And so before, we've got a few people online. So just to make sure that people who are watching know that they're there, I'll just ask us to do a quick introduction. So John Strout from Virgins.
Erica Andress from Ferrisburg.
Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Patton.
Sorry.
Keith Morrill from Virgins.
Nikki Bear from Harrisburg. Christina Macklin from Harrisburg. Lauren Childers from Addison.
And Amy, we see you there. Would you say hello?
Amy Kittredge, Addison.
Okay, I think that's it for us right now. I've heard from most people, but I'm not sure about one person, but we'll just go ahead and keep going. So is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
So Christina moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Good. Is there any discussion or about this agenda? Okay, all in favor of adopting the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Abstentions? All right, to you, Dawn.
All right, thank you. I'm going to call the meeting of the Mount Abraham Unified School District to order at 6:09. And just so we can be sure we have everybody on Zoom, can my board members introduce themselves, please?
Liz Sayre
Aaron
from
Kipper.
Bristol. Sorry, Aaron. And Liz Sayre from Bristol.
Aaron Jipner, Bristol.
Steve Rennie from Starksboro.
Sarah LaPearl from New Haven.
Thanks, Sarah. And then here we have
Kevin Hansen, Bristol.
Krista Sariga, Bristol.
All right, so we'll go ahead. As John said, we'll go back and forth. And so I'll turn this back to you, John.
Okay, so I think at our September meetings, we all agreed that we voted that we would have this informational meeting. This was our responsibility to hold it as boards. But since we're not the experts in the material and the content and the information, that we agreed to turn it over to the merger study group to present the informational meeting. So this doesn't require any action by any of us, but I'm now going to turn it over to the merger study committee to take it from here.
Thanks.
Okay, this is me.
Yes.
Introduce yourself. though.
Yes, so this is a bit awkward because we're speaking to the community, but there's very few community here. My name is Troy Parity, and I am just one of the members of the Merger Study Committee. And we're going to give a presentation very similar, if not the same presentation as what we have given that we have given a couple times already to the community to try and provide clarity around our purpose, clarity around what the community is being asked to vote for, and just communicate the work that we've done and what we've come up with up to this point. So a little bit of background on the committee. The committee came into existence as a result of a vote taken by both of the boards that are here tonight. So the ANWSD board and the MAUSD board both decided to form a study committee for the sole purpose of determining whether or not potentially merging a governance structure would be beneficial to the communities of the two boards serve. And that was what the merger study committee was asked to do, is to examine all of the information that we, can they not hear me?
It's not.
Oh, it's not on?
We can hear you on
You can hear
Zoom.
me fine? Okay,
Yes, we can hear you fine.
okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So that was our, that was our task. And there's some Vermont statute language here defined under 16 VSA 706B, which I don't, that's probably not that pertinent at this moment, but there is some language in there. And I guess it is pertinent because we actually are required by law. We were required by law at the end of our deliberation, research, debate, conference with the communities and all of the information we could put together. We were required to put forth a statement on whether or not we believed it would be beneficial to bring a vote to the community or not. And we are clearly in the vote stage coming up in a week. So we determined as a group, that it would be beneficial to bring it to the community to decide. So we are the people that are here in this meeting tonight, the people at home watching, the people in the room watching, the people sitting at the table. We are parents, we are teachers, we are community members, we are board members, we are your neighbors, and we live in these communities, and we are as passionate about our schools and our students as all of you are. Clearly, we would not be serving on the committee if we weren't. So you have had, I will tell the community, you've had some really good people working on your behalf over the last year, wrestling with these issues. And I'm very proud to have been a member of that group and have worked with them all. We have spent a lot of time over the past year. We have studied what school governance models look like. Wow, did I get an education? There's a lot of complexity to how schools are allowed to run, how they're not allowed to run, what the different governance models, the pros and cons of those governance models look like. We analyzed them, we asked questions and questions and questions, and tried to get all of our questions answered as much as we could through the help of our superintendents and Tracy, who was helping us, and going straight to the State Board of Education at some times to get answers to our questions. So we analyzed those governance models, and we took a lot of time looking at what we felt would work for our community. Our communities are not the same as every community in Vermont, geographically, politically, economically. It's very different. You know, the community in Winooski that's 1 square mile is not our community. So we had to look at what we felt would best reflect our communities and give us the best options moving forward. So we did that. We commissioned some studies. Both school boards committed some money to commission some studies. We wanted to look at transportation services and how can transportation best serve our communities and not detract from our communities in terms of moving students back and forth to school in a timely and efficient manner that would not detract from the goals of what we were doing. So we got a report. We weren't happy with it. We asked them to do it again because we felt like in order to bring things to the voters, that first one didn't work for us. So we asked to get another study done. And the second one, we felt like, okay, there's a lot of option here. There's a lot more potential here. And there can be more studies in the future and things could potentially change in the future. We sought compromise. It's no secret that these are tough issues when you talk about merging and blending governance of two districts and towns that have been working independently, that there's going to be different ways that people operate and do things within their own respective communities. So we sought compromise. So when we built the articles of agreement, that was a give and take process to really tackle some of the bigger issues involved and some of the questions that are asked from the community in regards to that. And then we had to make decisions. You know, at the end, we actually had to decide. You know, we had to put something on paper and we had to commit to something because we had to present something to the community that they could vote on. And that had to be actual documentation and articles that you could vote on. So we tried to answer the tough questions the best we could. Should we or should we not merge our governance structure? That was the question. The work was long. The answers were not always clear. They certainly were not easy, but we kept some things as our guiding principles through the whole thing. A, will this serve our students? Okay, will this serve our students? And will this be beneficial to our students moving forward? Will combining a governance structure serve our students and our communities? Okay, is it going to improve our academic, our social responsibility, and position our students to be successful, not only right now here in our communities where they live, but in the future, wherever their lives and their future schooling takes them? So that was our guiding ask. Our second guiding ask was, does it provide the tools that the school board is looking for? Because the reason this merger study came to be is because the school boards are struggling to find all the answers they need to continue to provide that level of education with our declining enrollments, and which means in turn declining dollars. So they need some tools to help them. And our answer was, we believe yes. We believe that the merging of a governance structure will help our students, will help our school boards, will help our administration be able to utilize new tools and new things available to them in a merged governance structure that they don't currently have available to them, to collaborate and work across our communities to help answer some really tough questions that we need to answer moving forward. Okay. So both sides of the district, both districts are dealing with the effects of declining enrollment and rising costs. Okay, both boards have been discussing these issues and seeking solutions on their own for several years, and they've looked different in each district, but both boards have been wrestling with this. There's already been action taken on both sides of the districts to combat the effects of a diminished student body. Okay, things have already been happening. Even when we have updates to projections of student enrollment, those are generally very, very small projections. And the data is considered, but at the point in time where we are and the numbers we're seeing, we cannot expect the challenges to go away in any sort of immediate future for our communities. The math is here and real. And the boards are living with that real math, and the future is looking very similar. So what does this mean? As an outcome, we concluded that forming the district, a new merged district between ANWSD and MAUSD is the best path forward to enhance educational opportunities, provide greater equity for students, and increase financial and educational stability in our region. And I think that's an important sentence, that it provides some stability and some structure for the boards and the administration to act with in the future. Okay, so we're trying to be proactive and create that stability in our region. Our study indicates that a merged single organizational structure will provide a more coherent system of administering the teaching and learning for our pre-K through 12 students, with a greater ability to provide better outcomes for learners and cost efficiency for taxpayers. With a merger, we can create savings while sustaining or even increasing programs for students by eliminating approximately 42 redundant positions. This proposed future offers significantly more programming, availability for more programming, more support for students in areas that we see currently, and an opportunity that is not currently available as we work separately. Okay, so it provides us more opportunity in a merged system. This will all can happen without requiring any significant increases in taxes. The merger will allow us to recoup the savings and implement the programming we need to moving forward. Our recommendation is based on what we believe is best for all students. The most important consideration for our decision-making was that, what is best for all students moving forward? We believe now we have moved this to the voters, and it is going to be up to the voters to decide.
Okay.
That's you, Mark.
Oh, yeah, okay. My name is Martha DeGraff, and I am from Panton, and I am also on the Merger Study Committee and a member of the ANWSD School Board. I want to talk a little bit about voting, because that was a question we had at one of our Q&A sessions. People wanted to see the ballot and learn a little bit about the voting. It is really important that everyone knows that the law does not allow for ballots on school business to be automatically mailed with general election materials. To vote on the merger, voters must request ballots or go to the polls and vote on November 8th. At this time, ballots cannot be mailed out. It's past the deadline. So you will have to go to your town clerk's office and voting early in person, or go to your polling place on November 8th during the town or city that you live in during the hours that they are open. It varies by each town and city. So I hope everybody knows where their municipal polling place is. If you don't, please reach out. We can help you with that. If you need a ride, there are several agencies that give people rides. We want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to vote and understand why these ballots weren't mailed like your other ballots were. We can move on to the ballot, which I think is the next slide. Here we go. So the ballot is really long and it has a lot of information on it. The law required almost all of this information, and we decided to include the language about protecting our schools, providing for votes for school closure, to ensure that in the future, if we are merged, only voters can change these provisions. That adds another layer of certainty for people who are concerned about this. Well, there are a lot of words. Basically, the ballot asks, shall one school district join with the other school district as provided in Vermont law and the conditions and agreements spelled out in the articles of agreement and with the board structure specified? Voters can choose yes or no at the bottom of the ballot, with yes indicating support for the merger and no supporting staying as we are, continuing in the status quo. So we have a picture of what the ballot actually looks like. And you can see in the far right corner at the bottom is where, oh, we can't see it, is where you actually fill in your little yes or no.
There's also posted ones up here.
There it is.
Posted ones.
Hey.
Yay, okay.
And these ballots will be commingled and counted
By district.
by district. So that's how that's gonna work. Should the merger pass, a new school board would also need to be elected. And we can move on to the next screen and talk about that. Voters will also get to vote on who will be on the board if the merger is approved. This is required by law and it takes effect if the merger is passed in the main article. Each town has a different ballot and it includes the seats allocated to that town. So Addison, for example, has a ballot to vote on a candidate for a 2-year seat, and there is one person running for that office, Amy Kittredge. Addison voters vote on that seat. Moncton has 2 seats, a 1-year and a 3-year, and Kylie Pellin and Bailey Lynn Gordon are each running for one of those seats. Moncton voters will vote on them, and so on. Some seats have no candidates, so write-ins may be elected, or the new board will have to appoint members to the board from that town to fill those seats until the next election. One seat is contested, the 2-year seat in Virgins, and voters in Virgins can vote for either John Stroup or Corey Coffey for that seat. They also vote on an uncontested 1-year seat. So everybody can see who's running for school board and in what particular town or city they're running from. And you can see Starksboro needs a couple people to run and Bristol as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to you.
Are you Karen? Oh, yeah, don't touch it. Hi, I'm Sarah LaPearl and I am on the MAUSD board and I'm also a member of the Merger Study Committee and I live in the town of New Haven. One thing we did want to talk about is where we could get information. And so with the vote coming up, we're very grateful for everybody who is joining us tonight. We're also really thankful for everybody who came to the Q&A sessions, reached out to committee members, tuned into our communications on Front Porch Forum and in other places and visited the website. We know that other sources say they have the facts too. We ask that in making your decision that you check out our website or touch base with a committee member, even if you're looking at other sources. While some people are making good points and sharing solid opinions, there are still misconceptions and misinformation out there. Regardless of whether you support or oppose the merger, please consider the information from over a year of deep study, thoughtful and sometimes very emotional debate, and tons of hard work by a committee made up of a pretty diverse group of people from all of our towns with different perspectives and opinions, who are parents, teachers, coaches, volunteers, community members, board members, citizens, students, and neighbors like you. In addition to those resources, we want to address a few important areas that have emerged in our Q&A sessions, changes in the enrollment projections, facilities needs and debt, and the shifting context for the future of our schools. This is for Mary. One question that has come up is about the impact of each district's debt and facility needs. From MAUSD, people are wondering if they will be ANWSD's debt if we merge. And from ANWSD, people are asking of MAUSD facilities if they need a lot of maintenance and if these costs are going to be a burden to ANWSD taxpayers if they merge. First, it's important to note that the committee found that the facilities in both districts are well maintained. The committee also found that the way each district has paid for facilities differs, but the future costs are proportionate. This graph shows the principal debt, the bond amounts left to be repaid on the left with MAUSD in red and ANWSD in blue. On the right are the costs for facilities maintenance and capital plans for the next 5 years to be addressed through borrowing or local budget allocations, again with MAUSD in red and ANWSD in blue. ANWSD paid for the past facility needs through a bond, so has more debt, the blue bar on the left, and the debt would be transferred to the new district. They also have future facilities needs, which the merged district would be responsible for, the blue on the right. MAUSD pays for facilities needs through an annual budget allocation and has very little debt comparably. However, those future needs would be transferred to the new district as well. When you compare the future needs that the new district would be responsible for, they are pretty much comparable. That means that the per pupil cost for facilities would not change a lot in a merged district, so no town would see a big tax impact due to facilities. We would all share in the costs of both debt and facility needs. However, it would be a fair share and no one would be burdened disproportionately. I think it's you. It's Kate.
So how did we get here? It's a pretty familiar story by this point to anybody who's been engaged in this discussion. It's been going on for a number of years. Both districts are experiencing declining enrollment. This is not just a problem for our districts. This is a Vermont-wide problem, mostly a rural problem. As you can see, these are the numbers that we were working with as a merger study as we were conducting our work. As you can see, in 2011, we have populations for ANWSD of over 1,100 and for MAUSD of over 1,600. Last year, you can see those numbers are significantly declined from those student populations 10 years ago. And the projections that we were working with show that they further decline in the next 10 years. Since we've conducted our study, we have had some updated demographics. The NASDAQ study that the ANWSD commissioned has been updated to show a potential 4% growth from today's population. And MAUSD has not had any updates.
That was ANWSD?
Yes.
Okay, I think you said MAUSD.
Let me repeat that in case I swallowed that. ANWSD has shown a potential 4% growth as projected by the updated NASDAQ report. We have not had updated numbers from the MAUSD report yet. But it's important to take those numbers into context. While they're great news, any increase from what we projected is welcome. Unfortunately, a 4% growth in the next 10 years in one district does not necessarily put us on solid footing, or the sort of footing that we would like to be on to provide quality education for our students and to be able to be strong enough to weather any unforeseen events that come our way. To give some context to this, this past year we had the ANWSD had a +10 kindergarten population than what was projected. These numbers skew upward, so that does impact the data that NASDAQ updated. So whether or not that actually predicts that population growth is less clear. Despite these increased kindergarten numbers, we are graduating a large class this year as well. And we expect the FY24 budget will be tight, about minus 2.9% from what we're currently dealing with. That being said, the larger picture still shows an overall decrease in our numbers. From our peak population in the ANWSD, we're still looking, even with a 4% growth by 2031, we're looking at an overall loss of roughly 22% from our peak population 10 years ago. It's not as bad as was initially projected, and we welcome that news, but it's still not, it still is a significant decrease from where we were operating at.
Can I just ask why there's no updated NASDAQ figures for MAUSD?
I don't know.
You don't
Does
know?
anyone?
Yeah, they're on their way.
They're on their way.
We just got ours Monday
Yeah.
of last week, so.
Yeah, our update was just received last week. All right.
We start with an A. It is, it rolls out.
It's alphabetical.
They're here.
Um,
They weren't in time for, if they're around, they're not in time for our presentation. to prepare for.
Overall, simply put, there is no indication in any of the data, whether that's the 2020 census or the NASDAQ report, that there is a population boom coming. We are in a position of having declined enrollment. There's no indication that we're going to re-achieve the robust population that we once had. And that is largely why we're here and why we still believe that we are stronger together as a merged district. A little more context on that. So it's not just a straight line from here to there to that 4%, potential 4% growth. Things are shifting. The ground is shifting even as we are moving toward that date. There are a few policy things at the state level that are worth noting that will affect our revenue and how we receive funding in the future. One of those is Act 173, which has changed the way in which the state reimburses special education funding. We don't know exactly how that will impact us, but we do know that we don't fare well under this model and we will lose revenue as a result. So we will have to find a way to either reduce the budget or to make up that lost revenue. The state has also conducted a revisement of the student weighting model, which is how they determine the per pupil spending cost for students in Vermont. Again, we know that we don't fare particularly well under the model. It tends to favor ELL and high school students, two types of students that we as a district don't have a lot of. It tends to be more urban populations that fare better under this reevaluation of weighting. No, I'm good. I'm just getting my bearing here. So while there are some things that we cannot control and that don't necessarily impact us well, I think that with a combined governance structure, we do add some stability to this. Right off the bat, a merged central office provides efficiencies to both districts, upwards of $1.5 million in efficiency cost savings. And that by moving into a merged governance, it gives us some of that, helps us recoup some of that lost revenue that we mentioned.
We're going to present.
We're not answering questions right now, but if you have comments at the end, you're more than welcome to make them. My apologies, I'm just getting my bearings here. So in terms of okay. So in terms of our stability moving forward in decision making, in addition to gaining efficiencies by merging and potentially helping us weather these cost deficiencies that we can anticipate, there's not a lot that will change within the district beyond merging governance. So as we've mentioned before, all we are voting on is a merged governance structure. Anything beyond that is up to the future district to decide, both the board and the taxpayers and all the other stakeholders within the district. Transportation will stay the same as it is now currently. There is no immediate merging of buildings. If there were to be merged middle or high school, that would be up to the future district to decide. Essentially, the only change is immediately is that it breaks down barriers between districts and potentially allows for more efficiencies between central office. A lot of taxpayers and people who have come to these meetings have mentioned wanting efficiencies between academics. Breaking down these barriers allows such efficiencies and collaborations to become possible.
I'm gonna do it. Okay. Is there a second page? The committee understands that closure of elementary schools is also a huge concern in our region. ANWSD has already restructured its elementary schools. MAUSD has explored reconfiguration of elementary schools, given some schools enrollments are less than half of what they were in the past. We heard loudly and clearly that people care about community schools and want to support and protect them. We couldn't agree more. That is why really the purpose of all of this was to be looking for how we could collaborate and have cost savings and do a better job for our students at the middle and high school level, and especially also at central office. This was never about the elementary schools. This was always about secondary education and central office. So we spent a tremendous amount of time considering how to address this priority in the Articles of Agreement. It's important to know that at no point during our study did we discuss closing or reconfiguring elementary schools as part of a future planning for a new district. In fact, as we considered governance models and analyzed transportation, it was with the intent of making as few changes as possible to elementary schools as they currently operate. For example, in the articles, essentially, we've gone over this many times, but we compromised and we came from two districts with different policies. So there are, at any point, I guess I would say there are 4 years of work that would probably happen before any school could even potentially be closed without a vote that their town initiated. It's a really high bar for closure. It's 2/3 of the board and 2/3 of the voters, again, ensuring that the work needed to support our students happens and that the community schools are supported. It allows all of our citizens to have a say in the future of the schools after 4 years, ensuring that all voices are represented in decision-making. So essentially, I think we've done it. An elementary school really would have a hard time being closed with the articles that we have set forth. Is there another part to that? Okay.
Is that the last slide?
No.
Oh, who's got the last slide?
It's Martha. It's me.
Okay. I don't have that page, Martha.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah. You want to try to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm having a little technical difficulty here.
So I think this, brings us back to the challenges that we've talked about. We all want to live in a world where we have all the resources available for our students. It's the classic bumper sticker, bake sales for schools and jets get all the money or whatever. What is it? Air Force gets all the money. I'm trying to remember the bumper sticker, but the reality is that it's not easy. And there are financial realities that the boards, which are the community, are facing. Our community is facing the financial realities, and they are due to that there's just less of us living here. Less adults paying taxes, less students in the buildings, but the costs, strangely enough, keep going up. So that's hard. Change is uncertain. Every time we say something like could be in the future, that's very disconcerting for people. And we understand that, and we wrestled with that, and we talked about it, and we believed as a committee that we wanted to put the minimum amount of structure that we felt needed to happen to form a governance structure that would allow the community to continue to wrestle with these issues with more flexibility and more tools in the future. Okay, so we know that change is uncertain, that change is difficult, and it takes time. And that's why the articles that we've put forward provide structure around a governance structure to continue to work toward these ends. We know that the communities identify tremendously with their schools. We all are the community, and we do that as well. And we know that these schools, the elementary schools even longer, but these high schools have been in existence for 50 or more years. And we know that even thinking about that looking different is challenging. And that's going to be something that we continue to look at, and they may never change. And maybe the new governance structure will answer a bunch of our problems, and 40 more kids will move into each building, and we'll be really happy. But we have to look at the realities. We know that transportation is a struggle in rural communities. Our communities are not different. Kids from Charlotte who are going to CVU are on the bus for an hour, and kids who live in Newport and North Country and all different places. The people who are the furthest away from where the schools are going to have the longest bus rides. And we worked really hard to come up with some scenarios where they would not be any further than what they have right now. And we felt good about that. And we felt like we were able to answer that question. And we know it takes trust and a lot of work for our communities to create the success that we are accustomed to and that we want to see moving forward. And everybody who's sitting at these tables, who are on boards and are on committees, and the people that are here who are engaged are going to need to continue to be engaged. You know, whether you're trying to sell a bond vote, or you're trying to sell something to your community in terms of a governance structure, or you're trying to, well, whatever it is that you're trying to do, we have to have community engagement. We all live together, work together. It's all of our money. It's all of our students. We all reap the benefits of a strong educational system. My hope and our hope is that people will stay engaged. Regardless of the results next Tuesday, there's going to be a lot of work to do and a lot of questions to answer. And, you know, this is just step one of what are we going to do? And we're either going to do it together collaboratively in a new governance structure, or we're going to have to then, okay, now what? So either way, there's going to have to be a whole bunch of work moving forward that this community is going to have to, the communities are going to have to address and keep the centerpiece with those things that we hold most important. What is best for our students long-term, even if it looks a little bit different, even if it's a little bit uncertain, okay? And what is best for taxpayers long-term that we can actually afford to provide for them? And that's what our merger committee has tried to answer. And we are now putting it to the voters, and you will all get to decide. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
At the end? I hope so. I said thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. So are you all going to take some? Right.
I think we're the only ones that hold it, but.
That was troublesome.
Mic drop
Are
nine.
you all going to take some questions or no?
Done Q&A.
Did Q&A.
So we're done. We're going to move to, okay. All right.
If we're able to, we will respond to a question at the end.
Okay.
We're going to let everybody do their public comment first.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. So we're going to move into public comment. I'll get it started, Dawn. Okay. And then you'll have to do it too, but we can just direct it right now. So I would like to ask for a public comment. Before speaking, please state your name and town of residence and address your remarks to the chair. In this case, it's me. And limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. I'll try to go back and forth online and here. So.
There's someone named Brenda.
Hello, Brenda. Hang on one second, Brenda, you're muted.
Brenda Tilburg from Bristol.
Bristol. Go ahead, Brenda.
I have a comment and then I have a general question. For the closure of schools, you have mentioned that it would take a vote of the school board, but it says that the process can be initiated by 2/3 of the quorum of the board. My understanding, a quorum of 15 board members would be 8. 2/3 of the quorum would be 6, which would mean that closure of a school could be initiated by only 6 board members, which is not even a majority.
It's at that meeting.
Yeah.
My
comment on
question, though, is I have been looking for details. Back in September 23rd, for example, it was stated that the big thing about merging the central office and the boards was that you would be saving money. And the number of 1.3 million was mentioned. It was not mentioned whether this was per year. It was not mentioned how it would be saved and what percentage of the total vote. 1.3 million is a lot, but it's about the amount of money that the Mount Abe School Board, the MAUSD board, puts into their funds for their reserve funds for repairs and that sort of thing. In other words, I'm looking for details. It's a very general thing. The only thing you're doing is combining school boards and the administration. Nothing else is happening. How are we going to save all this money? There's no details. How are we going to choose a principal? I mean, a superintendent. What's going to happen? We've got 2 bookkeepers. What are we going to do with the other one? How are we going to save money if there's essentially the same amount of work? There's no details. This is all people say we expect this will happen, but there's no reason why, and there's no statement how. And somewhere, I keep looking for this before I vote, and I still haven't got it. There are no details anywhere. I don't know where you're getting your numbers, and nobody is willing to explain. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Is there anybody else online or in person who would like to make a public comment? Go ahead, please. We'll do it here.
Hi, my name is Thomas Borchert. I'm from Waltham. First thing I'd like to say is I'd like to thank the committee, the Merger Study Committee, for a huge amount of work. It is, I mean, this has been going on for a year and a half. This is a ton of time that everyone's taken, and it is on, regardless of whether one agrees with this, the proposal that you brought forward. This was a huge amount of work and time and effort that the committee gave to all of us. And so I just want to recognize that. The other thing I do recognize that I wanted to say is that while I recognize the concern about the details, I think the important thing about why this Merger Study Committee came into existence in the first place was because we don't have the capacity to get those details without having structure. So it feels to me like we're kind of like we open up a little bit and we can see a little bit ahead, but until a decision's actually made by the voters, we can't see more. And I recognize the fear and the anxiety that many of us have about where our kids are going to be in the future, but I think this is a smart solution. It is a step forward. It is providing a structure, and I'm using your language, I recognize, but it's providing a structure for the board to make decisions that'll work for all of us. I trust the people of our community to work on behalf of the community when we're in rooms like this. So thank you for your time and for the proposal in front of us.
Thank you. Is there anybody online who would like to make a public comment?
There are no hands up.
Okay, back to the group. Is there anybody here who would like to make a public comment?
Certainly not going to let that opportunity.
Good.
My name is Will Wilson. I live in Starksboro. Thanks for your presentation. You know, Troy, you do a great job. There are so many things, but you know, it's a bit one-sided, right? I mean, the marshaling of this information is geared towards, you know, trying to persuade people to support the merger. There is another side to that, which are the reasons why it might not be a very good idea. And you never really hear that from the folks that are putting this forward. I'm gonna restrict myself to no, so there's a ton of things I could say, but I'll
You
limit.
can say whatever you want in a minute, in 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
If you want to shut me off now,
No,
that's fine.
keep going. You got it.
Just, that's fine. If you want to cut off, public comment, that's fine. I'll say.
Keep
three
going.
things. What's that?
Keep going. You got a couple more minutes.
Are you gonna interrupt me again or what?
No, only if you were joking. Keep going, keep going. I won't interrupt you.
You're talking about we're going to reduce taxes if you merge,
Never said that.
or slow the growth of taxes. I get a nod there. On page 29 in the Merge Study Committee report, it's pretty clear what's going to happen with taxes. For 3 to 4 years, a merged district will have lower taxes. After that, the 2 districts would have lower taxes than if they had merged. So that's an important bit of information that I don't think has really been talked about. You talk about taxes and geez, we take care about the taxpayer. But I think that's an important piece of information. The other important thing to know is that the whole logic behind the merger, as far as I can tell, is if we save money, we can expand educational opportunities for students. That's great. I've seen 1.2 million, 1.3 million. I think I heard 1.5 million can be saved with central office merger. I think it's also clear from the merger study report that the real prize is merging the high school and the middle school to the tune of around $3 million. That's in the merger study committee report. MAUSD also did a report, identified those savings. Of course, you have to net out the transportation costs, extra transportation costs. Troy, I think you said, the transportation times are going to be about the same, but in order to get there, you're going to have to spend a lot of money. So you got to net out, especially, if you're saying, well, 4.2 million we can save, you're going to have to net out those extra transportation costs. And I don't really hear that being talked about. On the other side of the ledger, there's a bunch of money that you can save without merging. The MASU 11th report identified over $3 million just for MASU alone.
Mr. Olson, about 10 more seconds, please.
Okay. Our schools only as capable of providing the education that our students deserve as they have the support of the communities they serve. This merger is going to destroy the trust and the support you need from the communities if it passes.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Yep, you have someone named Susan.
Susan.
Hi there.
Hello, Susan. Would you say, Susan. Okay.
Hi,
Would you
can
say
you hear
your
me?
name and where you're from, please?
Yes, I will. My name is Susan Rakowski, and I am from Virgins. And I don't have any questions, but I do want to just extend my enormous gratitude to all of the committee members and the work that you have all done over the past year and a half. This has been a tremendous amount of time, tremendous amount of work, and I appreciate all that you've done. I appreciate the discussions that you've had at your meetings where you discussed and weighed the pros and cons of all the different variables before coming to your conclusion to recommend going to a vote. And I want to say that regardless of the results that happened on Tuesday, the information and the work that you have provided has been, it will continue to be invaluable for our community and our students. And you have kept the conversations focused on the students and the community, which I appreciate. So I just want to say thank you. I am really, really grateful for all the time and work that you've all put in.
Okay, thank you.
where we met. I live in Ferrisburg. I'm the grandma of a fourth grader and an eighth grader in our district. Let's see, after the merger committee reassurances at the last informational meeting here in this room, I was feeling somewhat better about the protections built in for at least the first 4 years against the closure of any elementary schools, until I finally recently understood that those protections don't extend to our middle school or high school. That is, I understand that after the first year of operation of the new merged school district, the new board would, the new board has the power to change this school, Regents High School, into a middle school by a simple majority vote of that board, without a vote from the community, without a vote of the voters of the entire district. And that's kind of like what happened in our Regents board when they just recently voted just the board to move the 6th grades to this school. And I think it would be a mistake for us to give up that kind of input into our local board decisions about our local schools. Per state law, I understand that Mount Abe towns will hold a 61% majority on the proposed new board. And I've been adding up figures on the 2 weighted boards and all that. And our district has a clear minority in those combined votes. So I think it would be a grave error for our district to give up that much autonomy and control over our local middle and high schools. And I hope people will vote no on the merger.
Is there anybody else online?
What about in Holly Hall?
What's that? Well, I'll turn it over to them for just 1 second. Anybody else here would like to make public comment? Okay, all right, then I am going to close public comment for the Addison Northwest School District. All right, and I'm going to turn it over to Dawn.
Thanks, John. All right, so we'll take public comment. We'll have the same minutes here for public comment. If you would just here come up to the microphone so that is captured for the people online to hear, that'd be great. And if you just let us know your name and the town you're from. And one more piece of information, if you want to look at the sample ballot, there are a stack of them in the back if you want to see that. So, is there any public comment?
Can you have her repeat that? I didn't hear anything she said.
She was talking about the ballots, sample ballots.
Just a sample ballot in the back of the
Just
room.
asking the group to, if they have public comment.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes, if you would just step up to the microphone and then let us know your name.
My name is Sandy Sparling. I live in New Haven. My name is Nancy Sparling. I live in New Haven. And I think that the committee has worked hard. This is very evident. But I think they have worked with a slant. And I think the slant has been toward stability, which I understand more as being rigidity, which I don't think bodes well for education. I think education always has to be local. It's to think globally and act locally. And we're removing a lot of control, a lot of input, a lot of feeling of the pulse, which is actually what causes school cultures to happen. I think that that small is beautiful. Why do we live in Vermont? Not so we can give away our vote on our schools, our decisions on our schools. And by the way, I don't understand what's going to happen about hiring teachers or principals or even personnel. It sounds like it's all going very, very central, which I don't think will work very well. I think the reason these schools in our districts, I've taught in both districts, have been really excellent is because of the finger on the pulse, the local input from local boards and from local parents. And I think the issues with students and in a school are always very local. They're not at a central office. I think that to put sixth graders on a bus with 12th and 11th graders is just not a good idea. I don't even think they should be in the same building with 11th graders and 12th graders. There is a world apart from sixth graders and 11th and 12th graders. There's no match of social ability, intellectual ability, size, you know. I mean, sixth grade boys are really small. I think that some of the alternate suggestions have been characterized today by someone on the merger committee as being unfounded. And I don't think that's accurate. I think that's another slant. I think that the priority has been for administrative goals. And I understand what's happening with small schools. I taught in a really small school in Weybridge. I understand the constraints. I understand the population. It's not that I don't understand that. I don't understand the promotion of these solutions. I really wonder if all of the board candidates for this new slate, are they all in favor of the merger? If all of those candidates are pro-merger, I think that local schools and local people, local parents will have very little chance for input. So I think that education has always got to be really local. There's something called a teachable moment, and it is not generated from on high, from a distance. So I think that you can prove anything with statistics. I think the merger committee has worked hard, and I appreciate that. I agree that it's going to give some further fodder for discussion. I hope it gives fodder for further discussion, because the new structure of governance, and I think we've seen the removal of boards from the actual schools that they represent has been progressive. And I don't think it's a good idea. So I'm urging a vote for no on the merger. It's not that I don't think there are solutions. I think there are solutions, but they're not these ones. So I urge a vote of no for this merger now.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Sure, step up to the microphone, please.
Thanks. I'm Nancy Cornell, and I'm from Starksboro. And I just want to clarify what is in the Articles of Agreement that I think goes under the topic of protecting our schools. I just want to clarify that although it's true that the articles say that a school cannot be closed within the first 4 years without a vote of the town, and that after 4 years, it can be closed by a 2/3 vote of the board and then the district as a whole. The articles also say that a school closure is defined as, in an elementary setting, in a K-6 school, closing a majority of the grades in that school. So if I understand correctly, that means that even in the first year of the merger, the board could, without a vote of the town, take 3 full grade levels out of an elementary school and put them somewhere else in a different school. Now that may not be what you would expect the new board to do, but I think it's only fair to be clear that the Articles of Agreement do allow that. And the other thing that I just want to make sure people understand that the articles say under the topic of protecting our schools is that even in the first year of the merger, the new merged board could take all of the grade sixes out of elementary schools and move them to a middle school without a vote of the town, of any of the towns. They might not do that in the first year, but to say that a school can't be closed in the first 4 years without a vote of the town, it's a little disingenuous, because moving a whole grade or even up to 3 grades out of an elementary school without the vote of the town may not be closure to you, but it really would be a death knell to most of our smaller elementary schools. And so I think it's really important for people to understand what the articles really say. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Is there anyone else online?
Yeah.
John, I believe the merger study committee.
We'll just respond to a couple quick things
Okay.
and we'll be done. Do you wanna?
Oh, gosh.
Okay, Martha, do you? Okay.
Oh, I turned you off. Sorry.
Thanks.
I know how to run this now. Test.
We just wanted to say thank you to everybody for allowing us to run the information meeting. We tried to do Q&A during our last meeting, our last 2 meetings, so that we could have a little bit more of a back and forth. But our option was to just make sure that if there was a couple of quick questions we could respond to that would be easy to handle, that we would do so. But also to please reach out to a committee member that has information or can get you the proper information. The $1.3 million to address that was per year for merging central offices. A lot of the details about how and why this is a cost savings is included, but the main things to take away is that you can be, our staffing is essentially our most expensive part of running a school district, and you can be much more flexible with your staffing when you're in a position for, if you suddenly are having to potentially cut 60 positions in one district and 40 in another, that would be pretty devastating, primarily to our students. Especially because most of those positions at this point, we've trimmed off a lot of the places that we can. And so suddenly we're now cutting positions at the secondary level. And when you cut a position at the secondary level, most of the time you're eliminating an entire program. And what that means to people is, and to students, is things like eliminating a world language, or eliminating music, or eliminating different science courses or upper level courses, and it does not make for a very equal opportunity for our students. If we have the means to do it, then we can offer all these courses, we can offer a lot of programming, and if we are able to combine our faculty in a way that is way more efficient, that is how we would actually be saving the money at the high school and the middle school level. And maybe that would take place in campuses as we see them now, and maybe it wouldn't. But even then, we would be able to work with combined resources to help our situation out. It does slow our tax rate growth. We have not promised tax savings. We have promised a way to help our students not be the only ones that are losing. We are going to have to make pretty big cuts, and we need to give them as many opportunities as we possibly can. And this is one way that we think we can do it. We know there are other ways, but it's not going to be enough. And we just want to, we understand that we could sound that we believe in the merger, and that is because we studied it. And so I just want to end with that our whole purpose of how we came about to make this decision kind of led at least many of the information and everything that we could work with to see that this could end up being a pretty big benefit for our schools. And so we'll hope you would at least consider the option. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to move to adjourn. Is there, oh, at least the Addison Northwest School District? Thank you. So the Addison, is there a motion to adjourn?
I seconded it.
Okay, so, well, I guess I'm moving it and Lori's going to second it. All in favor of adjourning the Addison Northwest School District, please say aye.
Aye.
Good. Amy said aye too. We're adjourned. Dawn, to you.
Right, thanks, John.
Your chemistry teacher.
Your description of what just happened was just for comment. You never said questions. Is there an opportunity to ask questions?
I already did that.
When was that? Somebody
It's
said.
over. Or do you guys do Q&A at your meeting?
No.
Our meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Adjourned on.
So they were asking for public comment. And this,
I just say, if you have questions, you can reach out to us individually. I'm happy to talk to you afterwards, but this is an informational session.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mount Abraham Board, is there a motion to adjourn? Kevin? Krista? All right, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you.